In Telltale's Game of Thrones, you play as 5 different characters, and if Telltales would have made one change with each individual character, the game would have been leagues better. Starting with Garrett. Garrett should have the choice of not going to the wall. That does sound incredibly stupid because the reason why Garrett goes to the wall is because Ramsay Snow is looking for him. So if he would have stayed, he probably would have died. But I still think Telltales could have given you some more options. The first one being, Garrett goes to the wall. The second one, Garrett goes to Essos with Malcolm. And the third one, Garrett stays Ninewrath. With the second one, if Garrett went to Essos with Malcolm, he'd be able to avoid Ramsay Snow completely, help bring Asher Forrester back to Ironrath with an army, and help save House Forrester. It's a win-win, and it would have been a great option. And the last one, he stays Ninewrath, which is probably the worst option, because if he stays in Ironrath, he gets identified by Ramsay Snow's men, and he gets executed. It's not the best option, but it would have given you a few more choices in the game. The second character is Ethan, and he dies way too quickly in the game. You literally only play with him for like 5 minutes, and then it's over. The reason why Ramsay kills him in the game is because of 2 things. The first one is he's looking for retribution because some of his own men were killed by Forrester men. And the second one is he saw Ethan as a threat, so he took him out. And then he kidnapped Ryan, so that there were no more men to lead House Forrester, which is actually pretty smart. But what ends up happening is that Roderick ends up returning. So, what should have happened differently is Ethan should have stayed alive. Ramsay shouldn't have killed him. Instead, he should have killed one of his own men so that, it's kind of payback. Because if you kill Ethan, his storyline ends and then, it's basically just a wasted character. The next character is Mira, and she should be able to avoid going to the King's Landing cells. It all starts off with her getting a letter to meet a certain individual in the gardens, which ends up being a Lannister soldier, paid by Lord Morgan. So, what should happen instead is you should get the option of not being able to meet this person, which changes the story dramatically, because the Lannister soldier will have to try and find new ways to try and take Mira out. But I also think that, on the contrary, Mira would be able to stay in Lady Marjorie's service. Now, I think the 2 events are completely unrelated. The reason why Mira gets kicked out of Lady Marjorie's service is because she's doing deals with Tyrion Lannister, and that's the reason why Lady Marjorie takes her out of her service. But I think with not meeting this certain individual, it'll give Mira a chance and be able to stay in Marjorie's service, which is a massive deal. And although the 2 events are not exactly related, I still think that there are still massive choices that could be made to really link the 2 together. The next character is Roderick, and this one isn't directly linked to him, but Arthur Glenmore should be able to survive. No matter what you do in the game, Arthur Glenmore dies. If you leave Arthur Glenmore at Ironrath, he dies. If you take Arthur Glenmore to High Point, he dies. It makes absolutely no sense. So what should have happened differently is that if you take Arthur to High Point, he should survive because he's not at Ironrath when Ramsay takes the place over. So he should survive. But I think it's a mistake in the game that he dies either way, because if you take him to High Point, he's with you the entire time you get back to Ironrath. And then for some reason, he completely disappears. And then he's being flayed. Once again, it makes no sense. But this little change would have made a massive difference because you still would have had the Glenmore soldiers behind you in order to defend House Forrester. The last character is Asher, and you should be able to hire a contingent of the Second Sons from Daenerys. But Daenerys decides not to because she thinks you didn't follow her orders exactly, which is completely ridiculous. But we're down this road because Beskar, during the mission, decides to try and kill one of her former masters, which you can give her the option of doing it or not doing it. But either way, it gets back to Daenerys that there was a sidetrack in the mission, and that's why she decides not to give you the option of purchasing some of her troops. Completely ridiculous once again. What should have happened is you should have had the option if, well, either way, you have to bring Beskar to the mission because Daenerys says so. So if you're on the mission, you should be able to stop Beskar from going to her master at all. If that happens, you'll be able to hire a contingent from Daenerys. But the game doesn't give you that option. Beskar, regardless of what you say, is going to try and kill one of her masters, or former masters, and that's why you don't get any of the Second Sons. And that's about it.